Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrew here, back for our build review show. This is the show where I bring people's builds up live on stream, giving them personalized feedback and advice about things that I think that they could do differently in their builds to help improve their post-contest sim ROIs and ultimately build and submit stronger lineups into their contests. This is our Friday, November 15th of 2024 show. We do this show twice a week at 5 p.m. Eastern, typically on Mondays and Fridays, but always at the beginning and end of the week here. So super excited to jump in. We have a lot of people signed up today. We have 8 names to get through. So it should be a pretty long one here. So with that said, don't want to waste too much time, and let's jump right in and start reviewing some lineups. So first person up is going to be Henry here, and we are going to be reviewing his NBA Monday main slate from 11/11. So that is the one he had requested. So pulling up their contest tab looks really good. Nice balance of single entries, 3 max, low stakes, jamming out on these respawn dime times. This all looks really good. Even the respawn $1.20 max. So love what I'm seeing here. Now I've pulled up their biggest 20 max, which is the $4.20 max, and pulled up those results already. So got those loaded up. So going to jump over to users, going to sort for people entering 20 lineups, sort by sim ROI. So this is awesome, right? Henry here is the top sim ROIer, 82%. And next is like 79, 75, 73. So top sim ROIer in the contest. That's really, really good. Something that's like pretty interesting is their average dupes is 10, which is higher than a lot of the other users, but their unique lineups is also higher than like a lot of the other users. And their under 5 dupes is actually really good. So it seems like they just had like one lineup that was just highly, highly duplicated. You know, we could even like check by zoning in on these lineups and just seeing which one. So 0 dupes, 6 dupes, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 179 dupes. Holy moly. Wow. So this is the one, right? This one lineup just skews all the data for like all the other lineups that come in at 0. So I don't know what stands out so much about this one lineup. Max salary, 278, projection to 345% ownership. It looks like the ownership maybe is it. See, like we have this one at 303, 0 dupes. And that is like your highest owned lineup. I wonder how it graded out. Negative 26% sim ROI. So I don't know how close to like a cash lineup this is, but it's got to be extremely close, right? I mean, it is the highest projected lineup, I think, in your set. And also, second highest projected, slightly lower, but it is definitely by far the highest sum ownership. So if I were to take anything away from this, maybe doing a sum ownership filter, just filtering out I might even go less. Honestly, I might just do like the bottom, the 5% of the highest owned lineups, right? We talk about like 10%, but like we're talking about one lineup out of 20 here that was just far and away incredibly, incredibly duplicated that just drove up your average dupes. So I don't think you need to like, start doing geomean, start doing all these other things to like account for duplication. Like, no, we just got to figure out how do we avoid this like one lineup in particular. And because the sum ownership is literally so high, if you wanted to do like a 5% sum ownership trash filter, I think that should cover this, and you get rid of that one lineup out of your available pool, and you find more lineups, and that would bring your average dupes down. Because like here, you look at your set, right? And it's like, hey, his average dupes are high. We could probably do something for that, right? But it's like, it all came from that one lineup. So I think that's also why your sim ROI is still high, because all the other positive sim ROIs balance out that one being bad. So that's all that's going on there. Now, let's look. So all these games started at the same time, so there was no need to do a late swap. That's why we don't see a late swap build here. As far as what we see in the sim or in the build, minimum salary up to 49.5. I think that's fine adjustment. I'm assuming this is a no more than 3 players per team rule. Totally fine to use. No filters, no lineup filters, autofill, contest, target contest ROI. Check out these exposures. No min or max exposures here. Again, had the rule for the totally fine. Unique rank, sorted by prize pool. This looks great. So, Henry here is a very good example of what you should be doing, right? Top sim ROI. One small adjustment to get rid of like a higher crazy dupe lineup, and their sim ROI goes even bigger. But you can see, this is a very, very good, strong set of lineups. Couple rules, salary, or one rule, salary adjustment, some small tweaks here and there, but overall very lean process, and one I would suggest learning from rather than, making any adjustments to. So just the one small adjustment there that you could play around with and test and see if it works, and give that a shot. So good stuff, Henry. All right. Very good foot to get started off on today. And next person up is going to be Interrogator, and we are going to be studying the same NBA slate from Monday. So that's great. Maybe they played the same contest too and could see some of the differences and similarities there. So let me get Interrogator up for Monday's main slate here. And we will let their build load. So build is up. Let's jump over to contests. Contest selection looks good. Balancing out single entries and 3 maxes. See a blend here. Could probably play a little bit more single entry, but that's okay. So they did not play the $4.20 max, which is fine. So we'll go and study their mini max where they entered 150 entries. So let's pull this up. All right. Contest is loaded. Let's go over to users. Got Interrogator, 150 lineups, sort by sim ROI. So this is awesome, right? Second highest sim ROI here. Now, what do I see? I see a high average salary. We see average dupes of 3, which is either in line or a little lower than some of these other people that we see, right? 4, 5s, 2s. So right in the middle of the pack. And then we see a nice, strong average projection, right? 276 is a great number to be coming in at, which is like the higher end of the range that we see here. So strong sim average score, good, fair duplication. And this is another really, really good set of lineups. So let's jump into their build, see what they did. Again, this is Monday, no late swap. So we see a 49K minimum salary. I don't know what the default is. Let's just open a build and see. It's 48,000. So here, 48,000 is the default, increasing the minimum salary. In this set, no player pool filters or player pool rules, but we do have lineup filters, right? So small difference there. Let's sort by exposure real quick. No min or max exposure. So we see two min uniques for all the contests. We see target ROI. We see rank, so allowing duplicates, which is totally okay. the other thing, right, is if you're using rank, you don't really need to sort by prize pool. So the whole idea behind sorting by prize pool is that you want your best lineups to go into the highest rank contest before being removed from the pool. But if you're using rank, then you don't have to take that step because it will allow the same lineups to be used over and over again. So just want to note that for everybody watching. It seems like Interrogator knows that. See, 3 filters: projection boost, ROI, and geomean. So this is fun, right? If they identify, hey, it's a 5-game NBA slate, I want to use some geomean. Hey, it seems like it mattered a little bit, right? We saw that the average dupes was somewhere between like 2 and 5. So they're accounting for that, but they're also still have this projection one to balance it out, to keep their projection high. And then they have their ROI greater than 0 filter. So I love all this. Again, another really strong review here. Love what this user is doing. So it's another really good one to take ideas from, right? We saw Henry go at it from like one way, and then we see Interrogator go a slightly different way, and they're both getting to positive, very, very high positive sim ROI sets of lineups. All right. Great stuff so far. Next up is going to be JB, and we're going to be studying NBA as well, but we will not be studying the Monday slate. We'll be studying a more recent one. So let's get JB up on the screen. And let's go and check out Wednesday. All right. So let's get this up. So JB, Wednesday's NBA main slate, 8 games, so a little bit more than Monday. This also includes some late swap. The window was small here, right? All games started within an hour, but I think there's still probably some news to account for with players being rolled out, projections changing within that hour. So swapping was still important in this case. So let's start on the contest tab. All right. So good contest selection. I'm fine with this, right? Taking a few shots in the $5, playing a little bit of single entry as well. So this seems fine. If I had to recommend anything, right, I would probably recommend one lineup in the $5 and then take those other $10 and play the quarter jukebox, play the dime times. Like with that other $10, you can get, 60 lineups between 2 dime times and the quarter jukebox. So that's what I would probably recommend there. Just small adjustment. But let's study these 3 lineups. It's the most you have in any one contest. So this is the $5 150 max. Close these. Open up users. We got JB. So greater than or equal to 3, right, is what we want to do here. All right. So usually when you enter less lineups, you can get to a higher sim ROI. Now, JB is at negative 43%, right? So that's pretty low. So we got to figure out what's going on here and why they're getting to such a low sim ROI. So looks like they're using a lot of salary. Average dupes is 2, which there's plenty of positive ROI lineups with 2 dupes here. I would say the biggest thing, right, is probably the sim average score. A lot of these other sets, 286, 291, 287. We even see like 282, but if they could just go from like 278 to like mid 280s, they'd probably be in like a fine spot. And we do see some lower ones. We see like 280, but notice like the 280, right, is duplicated 0 times. So when they're playing like these 280 sim average scores, the average dupes is 0. The people with 2 average dupes are closer to like 284 sim average score. So we got to do a little bit to get this sim average score up. So we'll figure out what went wrong there. Okay. So this is one thing I've been looking at here. When you hover over a build, you could see what time the lineups were built, right? So I could see build 1 has lineups, build 2 has no lineups, and then swap 1 has lineups. Notice here, build 1, it says lineups built 9:01 a.m. And then build 2 says no lineups. So it seems like JB built these lineups in the morning and didn't come back to them before lock and did a late swap after slate lock, right? I would recommend against this. Do not build your lineups in the morning and then leave them all day until the slate lock, right? It's fine to go in the morning and put in some lineups as like a placeholder, but you should definitely be coming back to those lineups at least an hour before lock to update them for news, for projections that have come out throughout the day, etc. Right? Players get ruled in and ruled out all the time. Value opens up, projections change, prop markets change, ownership changes, right? You do not want to leave a set of lineups from the morning all day. So that's the biggest thing, right? Optimal strategy, if you can wait until the first set of games, those starters are announced and these green check marks come out, that's the best strategy, right? Because once these starters are confirmed, we run our sim for it. Great. Even if news changes for the other games, well, you can still late swap, right? But at least these players, you've accounted for all the changes for those players since they will be locked and you can't update after that point. So I think the sim average score issues are probably coming from building the lineups so early in the morning. Now let's go into this build and see what we see. So biggest thing for me, right? Minimum salary at 0. This is not something you want to do for NBA. Don't open up your salary for any salary to be available. You know, the users who we just studied who were doing had high sim ROIs, they were actually increasing it. They were like, hey, I want to sacrifice even less salary than the threshold says, right? So if you're going to do anything with salary, raise it. Do not lower it below the default. Definitely don't lower it to 0. All right, 2 player pool filters, minutes greater than 30, my own greater than 0, my own less than 20. Okay, so I'm actually not a fan of these either. And the reason for that is there is typically a reason why players are high owned in NBA, right? And that is because they are good value. They are a player getting a start in a really good spot. Players with injuries, right? Like you have effectively gotten rid of all of these high value plays, right? Like Jared McCain was a great value given Paul George being out, Embiid being out, Maxey being out. I think somebody else was out, right? Like great player, great salary, good usage. Giannis with Lillard out, and I think Bobby Portis was out, right? Ryan Rollins was out. I would definitely turn off this ownership one. I would trash it and I would never use it again. Now, I even think that the minutes greater than 31, I think that one's aggressive too, right? I would probably lower that. Maybe 25 if you want to be really aggressive, right? But the minutes 30, you're ruling yourself out of Jared McCain. You're ruling yourself out of Gershon Yabusele, if I'm pronouncing that right. You're ruling yourself off of Jalen Noel, right? So there's a lot of good players that you can get to and lower this, right? So for the minutes one, lower it to 25 if you still want to use it. Turn off the ownership one, get rid of it, don't ever use it again. Increase your minimum salary at least to the default. If you want to do it, leave it at default, that's fine. If you want to increase it, we've seen that work well for some of these other users. It's probably these filters that are leading to the low average score, now that I think about it, right? Because you're sacrificing so many good value plays. And then in the actual build, ROI seems fine. Consider using some min uniques if running only a small set of lineups here. And those are the biggest things I would change. But if you make those changes, remember the contest selection one, remember the salary, remember the filters. And if you do those things, I think that we're going to get you from where you are sim ROI wise up to a positive sim ROI player. All right. Glad we did that one. Think there was some really useful stuff there that can help JB out a lot. So excited to see his sim ROI changes in coming days here. Next person up is going to be Sammy, and we're going to be looking at Sammy's Thursday night football showdown. So let's get that up from yesterday. And shout out to SaberSim user Jay Gerbs for taking down a Millie Maker last night in the high stakes 5K Millie. So that was super cool to see that tweet. And that is 2 SaberSim Millies in a week here. We had Giant Squid on Sunday. We had Jay Gerbs on this Thursday. See if we can get any more people over the weekend here. But let's go back to Thursday, Washington, Philly showdown. And let's jump into the contest tab. All right. So Sammy's somebody who's been testing out a bunch of different ideas and theories here, and mostly just like, hey, I'm going to play the dime time until I have a process that I'm comfortable with, and then expand their contest selection from there. And let me get this up on the screen. So Sammy looks like he has started to enter more contests, basically, right? It's usually like just one here, just this one dime time, but mixing in the quarter jukebox, adding in the free contest, and then taking one shot at the big prize. So I think this is fine contest selection. I don't have a problem with it. Now let's pull up the quarter jukebox because that was the biggest 20 max that he played. And we'll review these results. So just waiting for this to load, a little bit of a bigger contest. But results are up now. Go to users. Let's go to people who maxed it, 20 entries. Sort by sim ROI. So good stuff here, right? 13% positive sim ROI. Seems like the highest sets are like 25% and above here. So not too far off from a lot of the top sets. Some of these 20 maxes are hard because we see like high average dupes, and some of these are like trains and you don't know which ones are or aren't, unfortunately. So that part kind of sucks. But if we were to get rid of the trains, chances are highest sets are somewhere still in like the 20% range. So I do like where he's coming in at. Now, the only thing I notice is that sacrificing a lot of projection to get there, 83 average, same average score compared to some of these other sets, like probably 86 and above is like a good range to be. It's like 3-ish points, a little low. Could probably take him from like 13 to 20 plus, but overall, not bad at all. I'm not sure if he like deleted a build or something with lineups, but this build doesn't seem to have lineups. I'm not 100% sure why. We can just look at some of the details here. So default minimax salary, one filter just to hide players who aren't projected. Sammy says their build was gone. Couple projection adjustments. So Eckler, Noah Brown, Gainwell, some small ones here. So all of these, like, it's like a handful, right? 5 adjustments. That Eckler one, worked out really well. Noah Brown didn't, unfortunately, but it was a little bit of a smaller adjustment. And then some small adjustments to Gainwell looks good. And then Wilson and De'Ami Brown, not so much, but pretty small adjustments there. So I don't mind. I'm sure these are coming from research or something like that, which are leading to these adjustments. And, the Eckler one was obviously a very, very good one. So good job. But I'm pretty happy with the sim ROI. The only thing I would say is, if you could do something to get to a little bit higher projected lineups, I'm not sure whether that's going to be an aggregate rule or a lineup filter or something along those lines, but that would be the only thing I would be looking at here. So overall, good job, Sammy. Glad to see that you're getting comfortable with your process and expanding out your contest selection. And then Sammy said, I direct filled each contest by filtering each contest. Yeah. So if you're in a build and you have lineups and you go direct fill, you can, select the one contest at a time, or you could consider auto filling them. It's totally up to you. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Next up is going to be Zur from Discord. And they want to review the NFL main slate from this past Sunday. So we're going to do a little main slate review ahead of the weekend here, which is totally cool. So let's get over to last Sunday. And let's get their main slate pulled up here. All right. So got their build up. Let's jump over to the contest tab. All right. So what do we see? So we see good contest selection. We see plenty of single entry and 3 max. We actually see a lot of their entry fee allocation in like this one single contest, which is the 150 max flea flicker. I would have probably hit a lot of more of the single entries. You know, they have like $5 single entries. They have like multiple $12 single entries. They have a $5 3 max, an $8 3 max, a $15 3 max. I think they have a $27 single entry, a $50 single entry, right? So I probably would have entered a lot more single entries and 3 maxes, and then maybe even put only like $100 entries into the $5. And then you take those other, the other 250 and you put it all in like single entries and 3 max just to try and achieve a little bit better balance there. So that'd probably be one adjustment I made. I'm pretty sure they just like sorted lowest to highest and like stopped after the $5 after they maxed it. For the single entries and 3 maxes, I probably would have went further and then circled back to the 150 max. So one small adjustment there when entering contests. Now, one thing I noticed, right, it doesn't look like they ran a late swap. So I would definitely be coming back during the afternoon window and running a late swap for the afternoon and just updating based on any projection adjustments, or if you have contest sims for the live contest sim and how players have done in the morning games. So I would always be late swapping at this afternoon window. So one small adjustment there, but let's go and review these 150 lineups from the flea flicker. See how they did. All right. Let's go over to users. So 150, sort by sim ROI. All right. So good news is 18% positive sim ROI. That is positive. Looks like the highest sets are like somewhere above 40%. So a little bit of room for improvement here. So what do we see? We see high average salary. We see no dupes. I'd say the biggest thing, right, is we see a little bit on the lower end of sim average score, like 131. A lot of the top sets, 135. We do see a 132, but it seems like more of an outlier. We see 136, 137, 134, 134, 133, 134, 135, right? So if they could get their sim average score like 3-ish points higher, they could probably jump here into like at least like the 30% sim ROI range. So let's go into their build and see why that happened. Late swapping could be part of it, right? Maybe they didn't late swap to some account for some news that came out. So that's one consideration. What do we see? So we see default minimax salary, 500 lineups, no filters, no rules. Interestingly, sorting by projected score. So very interesting there. We see unique rank. How are these contests listed? Okay, so this is one consideration, is that when you're using unique rank, you're using direct fill, you probably want to put the contest with your highest entry fees at the top. So I would have reordered this to by using the drag and drop to just put that $5 150 max first, rather than putting the the 20 entry 3 max. I'm sorry, the $3 20 max and the $1 20 max above that contest, right? Especially because you're using unique rank. So I would have done that for sure. I would definitely recommend against using projected score. We think Saber score is a way better metric because, Saber score does take into account some projection in the formula, but it also takes into account the lineup's upside and the ownership in the lineup. So consider using Saber score over projected score. We think it's a superior metric, which is why we created it. And then let's go in here. So what do we see? So we see some risk management here. I think that's fine. So most of like the exposure adjustments are like max exposures, kind of capping players who are like good value, but kind of high risk, right? Mac Jones, Donnie Mitchell. I think those are fine adjustments here. Not really seeing anything else. So I'm totally cool with the projection adjustments. Some quarterback adjustments too. Again, really, really small. No defense adjustments. Stacks, allowing all stacks. So a lot of this looks good. So I don't have a lot of opinions on what went into the player table here. The biggest thing is I would say is probably going to be the lineup, the contest ordering here, right? Not losing 40 lineups that with higher projected score to contests where you maybe don't care as much or don't have as much entry fees, right? Another thing would be if you are having trouble getting to higher projected sets of lineups, consider increasing minimum salary. I would recommend using Saber Score over projected score. It's your choice. And then the contest selection, I would be entering more single entries than 3 maxes, and then taking some of that bankroll allocation out of the $5 150 max to get to those contests. So those are the biggest things here. Again, he was positive 18% sim ROI and had a strong set of lineups. So not trying to do a complete overall here, just some tweaks to help them have a even better set of lineups and hopefully a positive profit at the end of the day. So good stuff. Next one is going to be T here. We're going to be studying Monday Night Football Showdown from earlier this week. So let's get this up on the screen. Get this loaded up. Keeping it rolling. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people down so far. 3 more to go, including T. Let's go to Monday, the 11th. This was the Dolphins and the Rams. And let's get this up on the screen. Starting in contests as usual. So notice putting less than the max number of entries into the mini max here to, get to some of these other contests. Totally cool. Let's go and study probably their contest with the most entries. So I'm going to go with the mini max, 190K entries. Hopefully this doesn't take too long to load. All right. Contest is loaded. Going to go to users. And then we're going to close these other panes. So sorting for people who entered greater than or equal to 100 lineups. Sorting by sim ROI. All right. So it looks like highest sets are like 40% sim ROI plus. T is at about 5%. So definitely some room for improvement here. Now, what do we notice? So average salary is like 48.6. We do see some sets. I mean, we see salary all over the place pretty much. 49.1, 49.5, 48.9, 48.5. So I don't think the salary is like a huge consideration. Probably it usually comes down to this is the balance between dupes and sim average score. So for instance here, right, we see T has 22 average dupes, 93 sim average score. We see somebody else here with a high sim ROI of 55%, 22 average dupes, same number, but 96 sim average score. So like their set is like 3%, 3 average points higher. And then let's see if we can find somebody else with a similar sim average score. Don't really see anybody. So overall, the sim average score to dupes ratio here is just like a little off. If we can improve that, that would be great. So we're going to figure out what they did in their build and how we can improve it. Really quickly before we continue, hey Smitty, if I'm not going to be able to get to you on the show today just because I got to do a little legwork before the show to get everyone kind of prepped to be reviewed. So if you just shoot me a message in office hours, I will add you to the show for Monday, and I can review you then. So I just want to let you know. All right. So what do we see here? So we see 44K min. We see a max of 49.5. So capping their max salary. This is something people do to try and get more unique here. So this is one way of trying to account for duplication in your process. Rules: my own sum less than, and then my projection sum greater than. So trying to balance this out. I do like this approach. One lineup rule. ROI greater than, or okay, so this seems super weird. So they're setting a rule in their lineup filters to show lineups with R. Oh no! Wait! It doesn't say show. It says hide. I'm sorry, I almost freaked out. So they have this thing that says hide lineups with ROI less than 8. This is fine if you want to do something for above 0. That's fine. If you want to do some number that's higher, that's fine as well. So this is the same as saying show lineups with ROI greater than 8%. So this is fine. Nothing wrong with this. So this is what I see, right? So they're having issues with duplication still, right? But they have a max salary adjustment. They have a projection rule. They have a sum ownership rule. So what else can you do, right? I would have to say that they need to consider using geometric mean at this point. They're trying salary, they're trying some ownership, they're accounting for projection, but they're still coming in duped, right? So I would probably at this point say that doing something with the geometric mean is going to be their next best option here. And then let's check some of these exposures. No min or maxes, so I don't see anything there. Some small projection adjustments. Some of these are a little big. So like Jalen Wright is like kind of big here, doubled their projection, and it looks like he only got like 3 yards. So that kind of sucks. Some big ones here with Hunter Long, Davis Allen. Got Davis Allen right, so that's good. Just remember that your custom projections or projection adjustments get taken into account in the pre-contest sim. They do not get taken into account in the post-contest sim. So your lower sim average score could be because you're getting more Jalen Wright, and SaberSim has him at 3.5 points and you have him at 7. And that's where like the extra 3 points are coming from, or why you're 3 points less in the post-contest, but probably fine in the pre-contest. So remember those things and take the results with a grain of salt there. But if I had to suggest anything at this point, I would suggest checking out geometric mean, which you can find in our support documentation. If you go into tutorials, type in geometric. You have this video, how to ownership product and ownership geometric mean work. I'll drop it here in the YouTube chat, and consider using this as a step in your fight against duplication going forward. So check that out. But other than that, feel like we hit on a lot of the major things there. So hope that helps out, and good luck to you on future slates this weekend. All right, 2 more to go. Got Jim up next. Thursday night football showdown as well. Just going to be checking out the Thursday night slate for Jim. Gives us an opportunity to compare here. So that should be interesting. Oh, wait. That was Monday night football. We did Thursday night football for Sammy. All right. Let's get Jim up. Hop back to Thursday. Washington, Philly. And let's get this up. All right. Builds loaded. Jump over to contests. Contest selection looks good. Really, really like this contest selection from Jim. Pretty happy with it. Now let's jump into the quarter jukebox, where there's their biggest contest with the most All right. Contest has loaded. Let's jump over to users. Got Jim here, 20 lineups. Sim ROI. So highest Sim ROI is like somewhere above 25%. Jim is at 7% Sim ROI. So positive, but some room for improvement. Now, average dupes is 22. Sim average score is 86. Not so bad. We see some users like kind of close to them, right? With similar metrics here. Seems like if he could have gotten to a little bit higher sim average score, it'd be good, but overall not that far away, right? So I'm not seeing any metrics here that look bad. So let's go into the build and see what happened here. All right. So I'm not sure why the minimum salary field is like blank. I don't know if it was 0. I don't know if it was some default value or what. Let's see. No filters, no rules, 5K lineups, 2 small adjustments to projections, no min or max exposures in flex, no min or max exposures in the captain. Three lineup filters. What do we got? ROI greater than 0, check. Projected score filter, check. Geomean filter. Geomean looks a little aggressive. I don't know how many lineups this took out. Let's turn these other two off and see what. So it looks like it's trashing about half the lineups, right? I would say this is probably a little too aggressive because sometimes when you go really strong on Geomean, well, how does it get to sets of lineups that have such a low, product ownership? It's usually by sacrificing projection, right? So I think what ends up happening here is the Geomean gets so aggressive that the builder is just playing really, really low projected lineups with combinations of players that don't grade out that well together. So for the Geomean, I would like to see this a little bit less number of lineups in the trash. There's 2,300 here. I would like to see this closer to like 500 to 1,000. So try and stay like filtering out 10 to 20%. This second filter is the projection one. It looks like you only filtered out about 200 lineups. So in general, just like rule of thumb that I personally use is when I do my filters, I like to filter out like 10 to 20% of my lineups typically, unless like we were talking about earlier with somebody's classic, they were doing like, I suggested like 5% some ownership. For ROI, I'll let that get rid of as many lineups as it does. I don't really care about the ROI one because we're relying on a 100K contest sim sample size. So I feel pretty comfortable trusting that. So that's one thing there, but I think the Geomean is just a little too aggressive, and I think that's going to change a lot here. But overall, good contest selection, pretty hands off in the player table. I think that's good. I like the filters you're using. I just think we need to adjust the rates of them a little bit, and I think that will help you to do better on future slates. So give that a shot. Let me know how it goes this weekend. All right. Good stuff. One more here. This one's going to be from Solar. We're going to be reviewing NBA on FanDuel. So we got to, make our best approximations about how they are doing on FanDuel, given that we don't have contest flashback available. So let's go to probably Wednesday was the last big slate. Looks like they did play Wednesday, so that's great. And let's get this loaded up. All right, so going to start in the contest tab. So putting 20 entries in the piggy bank, I think that's good. Playing one single entry, good. Playing a head-to-head, fine. So one thing I want to call out, right? You see that, they had a couple regular builds, and then they have all these different swap windows. They swap 7 times for all these different points on the slate. you don't need a new swap build for every window. You can use one swap the entire night. And so when you're in your swap build and then the next set of games lock, all you need to do is click the refresh projections icon. That will tell SaberSim, it will check the time and then it will compare that to the games. And then if players have locked since your last projection update, then it will lock those players and you can continue to use the same swap build. So don't need to open up all these swap builds, which can help if you're, cloning builds and adjusting things along the way, right? So don't lose that. Now, let's start with your pre-slate lineups and decisions. So it looks like build 2 So we see 5K lineups, 59K min, 60K max. I don't know what the default is. This might be the default. No filters, no rules. No min or max exposures. Nothing on team stacks or stack types or games. So pretty hands off here. Looks like they're using direct fill. So you're in direct fill, right? You're using target ROI. When you have both contests selected, or even all three here, right? You are going to be using the average ROI across the contests. So you don't want to do that typically. So what I would do is, if you want to do it in direct fill, select them one at a time, let the target ROI update, and then fill it, and then move on to the next one, right? That's effectively what autofill does for you. If you want to switch to using autofill, if you want to continue to see the lineups, it's okay. Use direct fill and just go one at a time. And then for the head-to-head, I would definitely be doing a separate build and be using optimizer mode, right? So if you're going to play head-to-heads, go into a new build, switch your build mode to optimizer, and focus on playing high projected lineups in those contests. So that's another thing to worry about here, right? But overall, it looks like you're swapping at every window. So combine these down to one swap build, continue to, do the same process. If there's news throughout the night that you want to account for, you don't have to swap if there's no news, but if there is news, I would recommend swapping, right? Check out the NBA lineup alert channel in Discord to keep up with significant projection changes. Do 2 builds, one for GPPs, one for cash. And then in the GPP build, if you're using direct fill, go one contest at a time. But those are the big things I see here that I would want to address here for FanDuel. So unfortunately, no contest flashbacks. Can't review too much. But I think if you do those things, continue to late swap, you're going to put yourself in a good position. All right. We had 8 people signed up today. We just got through our 8th lineup review here. So appreciate everybody tuning in. I will be back tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, for our Saturday office hours show. So until then, everybody take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.